right, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially live on Facebook. Rob Carson here, David Naster right there.
There.
How are you?
Hey, I want to thank you. The last time I came here, you had wine, you had some cheese,
Yes.
some crackers.
Yes.
Tonight, I had to bring my own wine.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And your lovely bride comes out and brings me some doggy biscuits. Doggy biscuits. So what you're saying was the last one didn't go well. Doggy biscuits, ladies and gentlemen.
I got to tell you,
doggy biscuits.
David, that was so funny. My wife, she's in the other room, and we have 3 dogs, and I think that she was trying to get the dogs to like you, and so she brought, just out of unannounced as we're talking, just comes in and lays down a handful of dog biscuits in front of you, and I was like, "Is that all we have?"
What she doesn't know, if she wants me to like the dogs, I'll get down and lick them. I'm sorry, did I say that? Did I think that? Did I say that or think that?
I think you said that out loud, actually. Your Tourette's is kicking in. Welcome back, man. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you, buddy.
I think a lot of things have happened for both of us since the last time we talked. It's been a few months. For those of you who don't know, David Naster, comedian, who's been doing this. How many years you've been?
I'm in my 40th year.
Unbelievable.
40th year and getting better and well, you've been looking at it. You've been watching it.
Oh,
you've been watching what I've done for the past 12 years of my life.
Guys, I got to tell you, and this is going to be hard to visualize, but David has a web series that is devoted to laughing at tragedy.
I can give you real simple.
Go ahead.
This took me 2 hours with the writer, and here's what we came up.
Yeah.
What is it I do? You just have to laugh is the name?
Yes.
Humor makes tough times better.
That's it. It does, and I'm gonna tell you, and it's based in.
Look, a doggy's here. I'm giving her a biscuit.
There you go. What? Don't put that between your legs. Just give it to her with her hand. Come on, David. What the hell are you doing? It is. I think, and this is. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that you're a stand-up comedian. And
it's out in my Al Pacino's voice. I'm a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, you are.
Remember that in Devil's Advocate?
Oh, yeah.
Are you my father? Oh, I'm a lot more than that.
Well, this is a lot of people who live their lives in humor are those who are using humor to deal with the shit they've been through in the past. I mean, I flirted with being a stand-up comedian, and I decided ultimately about 15 years ago that I was not going to be, even though I had entertained the thought and I'd always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I was talking to Dave Chappelle in the studio, and I'm
sorry, you just dropped a name. Let me get that.
Yeah, let me get that here. Dave is a good buddy of mine.
Dropped a name.
Did I tell you?
No, and I was talking to Tony Bennett. Here, let me get that. Drop that.
Whatever. Anyway, but Dave was telling me, he put it into perspective. I said, man, I wish I did what you did for a living. And he goes, man, I wish I did what you do for a living. And this was before the Chappelle show. Did I tell you I had Dave Chappelle in the studio? We just were hanging out.
Yeah.
And then I hung out with Kevin James. Anyway, and I decided, this is pretty good to be able to do this on the radio.
I met Bob Barker.
Shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. But I think I always said about people who are into comedy, people who are into entertainment, we are the walking wounded. We are the walking wounded to some degree.
I think I said this last time on your show.
Yeah.
Comedians, egomaniacs with inferiority complexes.
Oh, majorly. So you've taken this in this idea, this concept, and I've been watching some of your videos. And David, listen, we just kind of met each other. I've known about you for a long time. I watched To Catch a Predator, and so I'm very familiar with your work. But you, I have followed your career. I know of you and all that. And we finally got to meet when I moved here to Kansas City, and you have been doing this. This video series that you've just launched, and you have several episodes up right now. It's called You Just Have to Laugh. And I think it's brilliant. Tell those who don't know about it, because people are going to discover this, but because it's wonderful. Tell me what it's all about.
Well, here's where it started.
Okay.
Edgerton, Kansas, right down the street here in Kansas City. I was asked to do a show in a church, and a guy came up to me after I had him on stage. I'm gonna get spiritual on you now. I love this.
Come on.
Serendipity, serendipity, or what providence means. I'm in the audience. I got to do a show for a church. I was paid $35 to do the show. 1979.
Really? That's how much you get for an appearance now at Cumulus Broadcasting.
I pay them $35.
Thank you.
I can't afford it anymore.
All right.
So I go down there to do a show, and I know I can't do stand-up comedy because it's in a church, and it's the Bible Belt. It's a small Kansas town.
Yeah.
So I pick a guy who I think randomly out of the audience, and I get him on stage, and we start having some fun. And the guy's real tall. He's 6 foot. I'm maybe 5'5". Yeah. I'm shrinking. And after the show, I walk into my car, and this guy follows me to my car. Did I tell you this last time I was on?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
And as I'm walking to the car, I go, excuse me. And if you actually, when you go to the web series, I actually tell the story in the parking lot where it happened. And he said, I want to thank you. And I said, well, you're welcome. And he comes up and puts his hand on my shoulders and looks down at me and goes, you don't understand, sir. 3 months ago, I lost my baby boy. He died.
Wow.
And this is the first time that I have been able to laugh. Thank you for reminding me why you just have to laugh. And he pats me on the shoulder, wipes tears out of his eyes, and walks off. And I'm standing in the middle of a field, actually in the middle of a parking lot going, good Lord, what was that?
Yeah.
I told one person that story in 20 years. That was my mom, because I didn't know what to do with it.
Wow.
But I knew, Rob, it wasn't me. It was the laughter, what it did for the guy. So I started talking to people. If you talk to any comic, next time you're talking to Chappelle, I know he's going to tell you this. People will come up to you after a show, and
I have a cell phone, by the way. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't have his number. Actually stole his phone. Is what he did.
Yes, thank you. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Every comic's going to tell you after they get off stage, somebody's going to come up to them and say, thank you. I was going through blah, 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 and this really helped me. So, Rob, I started paying attention to that. Yep. And so I started interviewing people. I wrote a book. And then when I interviewed Jack Mandelbaum, who you just saw on the series, Jack survived the Holocaust from age 14 to 17. This isn't a movie, folks. This isn't a made-up thing. And Jack told me the story how he's on a stacking bodies for a crematorium at a concentration camp. And him and his friend Maniak are making jokes about it. And I said, what? And then he explained why he did it. And I put that story in my book. But, Rob, you didn't get to see the look I saw in his eyes when he told me the story. So I made the video series because I wanted people to see what I got to see. And that's what this is about, how people laugh through life's most difficult times. First episode is with Dr. Patch Adams, the guy the movie was made about. Patch Adams calls me on my cell phone, calls me from the Amazon basin in Peru. He's stopping the promotion of sexual slavery, building hospitals and schools. That's the real Patch Adams.
You told me about this the last time you were in. Yeah. And it was hard for me to put it into context because you're passionate about it, but I guess I'm easily distracted. In case you didn't, what the hell is that? The dog's over there humping itself. Anyway, no, but I didn't understand the context of it until you showed me your website, Naster.com, also
YJHTL.com, which is you just have to laugh.
You just have to laugh.
And if you put you just have to laugh.com, it goes there too.
I think that it is a shame that you are giving these away for free right now on your website because I think they're so freaking good. Tonight, as David and I have sat together, and again, Naster.com or YJHTL.com.
Web series. Go to the web series on there. You'll see it.
They're so good. They're just so good. It's like something that I would binge watch on Netflix. It really is, Dave.
I know it is. It is. And Ulu said it wasn't that good.
Ulu can suck my dog's whatever.
Oh yeah, this is Netflix stuff. This is HBO stuff.
This is HBO easily.
Stratton Leopold. Now, who's that guy? Stratton Leopold. I'm dropping a name here. He loved this. Who does he did? He did Mission Impossible 3, did Captain America 2, did The General's Daughter, did Paycheck, did The Sum of All Fears. I went down to Savannah, Georgia, and met Stratton, and he goes, David, this is brilliant. And I said, what? He said, what do you want? I want a television. She goes, just do movies. He said, I'll call my guys in HBO, but I never heard from him. It's great stuff. And Rob, pardon me for interrupting you, sir.
Yeah.
We have people lined up all over the planet that want to do more with this stuff. That they want to go. They want to share how humor and laughter help. One of our episodes is coming out soon. It's at MD Anderson in Houston Cancer Institute. These people on here talking, no matter what you've been through, you have to find a way to laugh. Now, let's jump to it. I'm not afraid to laugh to it. How can you possibly laugh or find humor in what happened today, last night, in Las Vegas. And the truth is, you can't. And it's irreverent. Now, people are already making jokes about it, and I've heard people making jokes about it. And I'm going to tell you, I understand why. Because it is so horrific, you have to do something to distract from the emotion.
It's not about disrespecting those who have passed.
Absolutely not.
It never has been, David.
No.
And when you're in a serious conversation, and I've done this because you and I'm not a comedian, but I write comedy and I perform comedy. So I guess I'm a comedian. Anyway,
no, the difference is
I don't do it on stage.
Yeah, you're not in the audience. I tell you what, when you're in an audience, buddy, and you hear the silence, that's not a friend.
Oh, I've been there. Trust me. I haven't done it, but I've done enough time on stage. I know when I'm rocking it, and I know when just fucking kill me, I'm done. I've been there. Woo, crickets.
I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
We are part of the Walking Wounded, and there is a point when, for instance, when I'm talking about my abusive father, or the fact that my dad left me when I was 7. There's that moment where it gets so heavy, you've got to have that line. Well, at least you weren't molested. Whatever that it is, and it's like, it's this. Now, first responders, people who've been through the military members. And I want to get to your PTSD video just a second.
Yeah, we have PTS, we have first responders, we have all that stuff.
You're thinking about people who are in the middle of the worst tragedy, the most unimaginable circumstances, and this happened in Vegas. You're dealing with children dead. You're dealing with people who, and you've got to walk into this as a first responder after going toward gunfire while everybody's running away, and then try to, process why this 3-year-old is dead or this 5-year-old is dead. And how do you deal with it? You say something that makes you go, okay, it makes you laugh. And it's not meant to be insensitive or being an a-hole.
I can nail it. There's a guy named Paul Nauberg, a great friend of mine who's a paramedic. And this is it. This sums the whole thing up. He said, David, we're not laughing because it's funny. We're finding humor and laughter so we can navigate through our own emotions.
It is.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh,
you're navigating through it, to do that. But when things like that happen, I can tell you this. When that horrible thing happened when the TWA plane took off and then it crashed, it was leaving New York City.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They were doing that. There were comics that night on stage in New York City go, you know what movie they were playing on the plane? That Forget Paris. Now, here's the deal with comics so people understand that. Yeah. You're not laughing and making a joke that those people died and families are ripped up and torn apart. No. You're laughing so you're not locked up into the horror. You're not locked into the horror of it. That's what I found humor and laughter. I was a psychology major. Did you know that in college?
Doesn't surprise me.
And I figured I'd rather make fun of people than help them, and I became a comedian.
You would have made more money.
But
you get $150 an hour being a psychologist, and you're making $35 doing a church gig. What the hell, man? You dummy. You're only playing to one person, and they're going to eat up everything you say. You made $150 an hour.
Very good. Very good. Very funny. Very funny. So I started, and I've actually now, I get this woman comes and she goes, I want one of your books. Why? I'm going to give it to my husband up here at the Mayo Clinic. That was a dog. That was a real dog because he wants another treat.
Kel, get the dog. Kel,
give me a treat. The dog's licking me.
Get the dog. She's sitting here barking.
Barking and starting to lick me. Take your time. Take your time.
Get the milk bone out between your legs. Anyway,
but
get her out of here.
This woman grabs my book and she goes, I'm taking this and I want them to see this at the Mayo Clinic. We want to get you up there. We found out something with this, Rob.
Yeah.
I found out what humor does with us emotionally and in our thinking. I got it. I got it nailed. What happens?
Yeah.
Want me to tell you?
Please.
Okay. I'll tell you by a story. I didn't tell you the story before.
Okay.
A great friend of mine who's in the video, Ray Wynn, the guy that met with Mark Williams there, the guy that met 31 years later. I get a call.
Oh, we got to get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
Remember the Secret Santa here in town, Larry Stewart? Larry died, but Larry was the Secret Santa. Mm-hmm. Larry calls me and said, Brother Naster, I need you to talk to Brother Ray. He had a bad day. I call Ray Wynn, a firefighter here in town. And Ray, what's going on? He doesn't know I know he had a bad day. And he said, well, He goes, and he never calls me David. He always calls me some nickname like, hey, lug nuts or something, or hey, or meat crank or something.
Yeah.
He goes, David, we ran a call today where a kid was in his car running from the cops, and he was looking around to see if the cops were following him, and his head hit a street pole.
Jesus God.
Chickened enchilada him. That was the word.
Jesus God.
He said, David, we walked up to the car. It looked like a horror movie. It looked like a movie. It wasn't real. The kid had no face. Half of his head was gone. And Ray has a whole different tone in his voice. And he said, and I look on the dashboard. There's gray matter all over the car. And I look on the dashboard, and there was his brain. And he said, and looked like it was still thinking. And I said, yeah, probably thinking he should have worn a seatbelt.
Oh, jeez. Come on.
Hold on. Hang with me. Hang with me, folks. And Ray goes, oh, man. He goes, probably thinking, he should have worn a motorcycle helmet to drive that car. We went back and forth. And then he goes, thanks, man. I really needed that. Thank you. We talked a couple months later, and he goes, you have no idea what that did for me. And here's what it did for me. Now, let's break it down in PTSD. Yeah. This is the layman stuff. You can talk to docs about it. Here's what happens.
Yeah.
When something like that happens to a first responder, anybody, that is trauma and that is stress. That is post-traumatic stress. You lock into that memory, and you can't get rid of the memory, the smell, and everything.
Oh.
Okay? When you can find humor in it and make a joke about it, what happens is in your brain, first of all, you're not thinking about the horror of it. You put in your brain at that moment something funny, absurd, and ridiculous, and you laugh. And this is it. You turn the volume down. That's all you do. The volume and intensity is turned down. You're not laughing because it's funny what happened to the kid. Go back to Paulie Nauberger, what he said. You're laughing as a way to get through it. Yeah. So that's how he gets through it. Now, every time he goes back to that scene in his head, it was horrible, but he's going to remember thinking he probably should have worn a seatbelt, and it turned it down. That's the value of humor and laughter for first responders and for people that see horrific things. That's the value.
Well, and you always think that it's crass. You always think that, for instance, I've seen doctors in operating rooms, and they'll write something on a patient's stomach that's funny and irreverent or whatever, and as soon as it goes viral, everybody's angry, everybody's pissed off at this doctor. What an insensitive a-hole he is, and whatever. And no, that it's not. You don't do this for a living. You don't go through the horror of being a first responder. You don't go through being a soldier every day. Soldiers, I mean, they're the prime example of the horrors of war and using humor to get through it. When you're making fun of the death of a whatever, it's the only way you can get through it. And then you have your quiet times where you're just fighting to live and not put a gun in your mouth.
If you go to the web series, episode 6, military. PTSD, they talk about that and why I have to find humor and laugh. For people that listen to this now, if you go to Naster.com web series, episode 6, the military, they talk about what you just said, Rob. Exactly what you just said, why you have to laugh at it.
I'd like to play some, but unfortunately it's kind of out of context. One of the episodes that I saw, and you showed me several episodes, and again, Naster.com
/web series
or YJHTL, you just have to laugh.com. You have a variety of these videos up, and you've got more in the hopper. One of them that I thought was just terrific was the Hyatt Regency disaster in Kansas City. I was a kid. I was in 1981. I was 14 years old, and I remember New Year's Eve. Was it New Year's? No, it wasn't New Year's.
It was August 21st.
But I remember being at home, and I was just a kid in Iowa, 150 miles north of KC, and I watched with my mouth agape, and I went, this was the biggest disaster I'd ever seen, featuring people who, people who could have been my parents. Your video on that, when you talked to one of the guys who was trapped under
Mark Williams,
60 tons of debris, had his legs behind his head.
Over his shoulder, like a contortionist.
David, explain to people, because and then you reunited one of his rescuers with him for the first time. This is in the episode again. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Mark explains in detail what it was like to be trapped under there and talking to a little girl who died while this was going on. And he was talking about this, and then he gets pulled out. Now, we didn't even get to this. You didn't even see this part, Rob. But he gets pulled out, and as soon as he gets pulled out, do you know what he said? You don't know what he said to the person that pulled him out. And
now,
he really said it.
He's broken. I mean, this guy's broken in half.
Yeah.
Neck broken, back broken, legs behind his head being pulled out, almost drowning because the sprinkler system was flooding and he couldn't lift his face. And what did he say?
Look at that. My watch took a licking and kept right on ticking.
Oh, dear God. Wow.
Then he says, first to the party, last one to leave.
Oh, man.
Then he's on a gurney. He's in the triage. And he hears his mother say to the doctor, you think he's going to live? And the doctor said, I don't think so. And Mark says from the other room, like hell I'm not. I'm going duck hunting this year. And then falls over, went to sleep, and he said, I don't know when I woke up.
Wow.
2 months later, his therapist is carrying him through the fields, and he went duck hunting.
Wow.
And all of his buddies are jacking with him. You know what they called him?
What?
March of Dimes. March of Dimes, come over here. March of Dimes, go do this. And the beauty of all that, and again, this is just one of the series, but you'll see these people. One of the coolest things we do is one of the guys, there were many guys that helped get Mark pulled out.
Okay.
One of the guys that helped pull him out is Captain Ray Wynn, great friend of mine. Captain Ray Wynn and Mark meet on camera 31 years after it happened, and they never met or seen each other before that.
That's remarkable because you showed him a picture of him being taken out from the rubble and the firefighter helmet that said Wynn on it.
Ray Wynn, yeah.
And he'd never seen that picture before.
Ever, never. And
How in the hell did you find that?
Ray Wynn had it, and all those pictures you saw the Hyatt Ray had, and Ray gave it to me. You know, it's interesting. Einstein, you ever heard Einstein? Went by one name, much like Cher.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the bagel company. No.
And Einstein said something. He goes, when things work out and fall into place, God is talking. And this episode, it just went boom, boom, boom. All these people fell into place. Mark Williams, Ray Wynn, it just happened.
Got to tell you, David, we've got to figure a way to get this discovered because I think this is award-winning stuff. I really, really do.
Do you really?
It's unreal. It's unreal.
Well, thank you.
He's actually paying me to say this. Anyway, no, but it is marvelous. We watched together, and again, Naster.com. Also
/web series.
/web series or YJHTL. That's kind of confusing. And I'm usually good for 3 syllables, but they have to spell something.
You just have to laugh.
Yes, you just have to laugh. There you go. You just have to laugh. You just have to laugh. How many more do you have in the hopper? You've got a bunch of them up here now.
I have sitting right now. I have 18, and we have more coming out, and I have more to interview. What I want now, and anybody out there, I want a television show. I want a national television show. I want this or on YouTube, something that's sponsored, so I can keep getting money to go out and find the people. I have people waiting all over the country for me to get to them, to talk to them, to interview them all over the. You know who wants me to come interview him?
Who?
The guy in the video that got the, smacked out of him by the deer and that thing. You know that deer.
Oh yeah.
I found him. I met the guy. I said, what was his name? His name is Lance.
Okay.
I said, Lance, what happened? Dave, Dave, how old? Dave, I'm 72 years old. Lance, what happened? How come the deer came after you? Well, Dave, I had elk piss on. That's why.
Elk piss on, of course.
He said,
could have been worse than having the shit kicked out of him. Could have been a lot worse.
He said, I wasn't out there hunting deer, Dave. What I was doing is I just wanted to get a picture with the deer, and I put that elk piss on me so the deer would come up and he started beating the shit out of me. So what you just have to laugh does is we go to places all over the planet and interview people, and they tell me these stories, and they're funny. And here's the thing, Rob. You got stories. Your bride has stories. Everybody we know's got a story in the middle of the kaleidoscope of crap that I told you about. Somebody's got a story going on.
Oh, my God. Just think of the number of stories just for altar boys being molested by priests. I mean, can we get a... Come on here, people. This is going to be gigantic.
Listen, if you don't think... Here's what I do. I'm not afraid to make anybody laugh in any situation.
Yeah.
So the other day, I'm Jewish, we're at Yom Kippur services. Now, this year, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, there's not a more sacred day in the Jewish religion, and I go to a place that's this Hasidic, the serious of this.
Oh yeah.
So I'm there, and and it's on Sabbath, it's on Shabbos, so that's even more serious. And so the Torah portion, if you're following it at home, is Leviticus, and it's when God instructs Moses to tell Aaron that you need to prepare fire and coals to present, and also to sacrifice a goat. And I told the rabbi, "My God, this is the first recorded tailgate."
It's like a Chiefs game.
So in between Torah portions,
yes,
the rabbi gets up, says the line, and it gets a laugh.
That's fantastic.
And I said to the rabbi, "I'll keep feeding you lines."
But you know what? I've seen that in church services too, where they'll inject humor and they'll look at this. It's 2,000 years ago. Okay, can we move on?
Oh yeah.
You know, we're making fun of we have lines about 9/11. Okay, that's 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
You know, I mean, come on.
So humor, and here's the deal with humor and laughter.
Yeah.
How can you? People want to know when and when you can't use it.
Yeah.
It's all your intention. Today, there is no way I would ever go on, whether it's a social media or on stage, and ever make a joke about anything that happened today in Las Vegas, because innocent people were killed. There is no joke to be made about it. Now, there's other jokes that people will or say funny things about it, but no, wrong place, wrong time. Not you can't do it. It's sad. It's a tough stuff. Now, you know who may be making jokes? The folks in triage right now. And you know why they're making jokes? Because they're dealing with a dead kid.
Oh, Jesus.
And they want to do something to distract themselves from the horror. You know why? Because every single one of those guys probably got a kid at home that's alive, that it touched them in the deepest part of their soul, man.
100%. I remember one of the legendary stories. I'm a broadcaster. And Howard Stern. There was an airline flight out of Ronald Reagan, and it lifted up and it crashed into a bridge. There's a bridge down there.
Sure, I remember that.
In the Potomac, and it went right into the water, and there were very few survivors. And he, the very next day or a day or two later, said that, whatever, Eastern Airlines has just introduced their shortest flight ever. It's about 300 yards. And he got fired for it. Mm-hmm. You know, there's that whole line of too soon.
It's not, you and I can make jokes about something off air because you get
my wife's yelling at the football game. I guess the Chiefs must have just scored. I haven't heard her saying, "Oh my God," in a long time. Holy hell. Maybe instead of watching porn, we should watch a Chiefs game the next time we're in bed together. I swear, we don't watch porn together. We tried that once. It didn't work. I was like, I can't compete with this. He's huge. Go ahead. My wife's screaming, "Oh my God," in the other room. That's fantastic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead with what? I'm gonna top that. You can't top that.
That's spectacular.
See, and you know what gets me is, we were talking about this before. Let's go back to Vegas.
Yeah.
Let's go back to these first responders and people that are there that have been trained. That one guy that was just helping people and doing stuff, and the cops running into the fire and doing that. You know what? That's why you don't take a knee. That's why you don't take a knee.
Yeah.
Stop it.
There was one of the best.
And here's something else, folks.
What?
Don't get your spiritual guidance from a football player.
Exactly. And taking two knees, back to the whole altar boy thing.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's not a host. What is that? Anyway, I just think, David, what you got going here is great. I love the premise. I wish I had a bigger platform, and I'm trying to. I told my wife that the other night. I wish I had a bigger platform. I just don't have it yet.
And that may be worthy of a "oh my God" or "oh my prophet." It could be an "oh my prophet."
It took a short Jewish guy to come to my house to my wife say, "Oh my God," in the other room. That's fantastic.
Remember the last time I told you that the best line I've ever had in my life, when I started to do that show and the spiritual thing went in front of me?
Yeah.
The people in the room, and there's a woman, I was going on stage, and the woman goes, "I don't know what he's going to say. We better get a minister up here." You remember that? And I told you about that?
I'm trying to remember.
And the minister comes out, and I'm doing a show for a friend for nothing, for free.
Yeah.
And they're going to say a prayer
to
bless the room because they're afraid I'm going to say something. And it gets into a spiritual revival, and they start praying, and oh Lordy Jesus, and they're raising their hand and doing all this stuff. David Naster. So I come out and I'm just laughing. And I just looked at my wife and said, watch this. And I walk on stage and I said, so you all are having a spiritual moment here and you want to have something moving and religious and spiritual. So what do? Bring in the Jew. And then I said, isn't that how your whole religion got started?
Thank you very much. Well, you know what? I think, like I said, what you've got going is great. I'm going to share on social media. I'm going to do everything I can. Naster.com. Obviously, you just have to laugh. YJHTL.com.
Congratulations.
They are, and I'm just going to try and encapsulate. These are vignettes. You have some that are 18 minutes. I think one of your longer one is 34 minutes.
And that's because the military, and that's because he explains. We have a former Navy SEAL that explains what PTSD and the work that he does with the military. And it goes right into the stuff of the military. It's a little longer, but folks, can you spare 32 minutes?
Yes. Well, let me tell you, I have a nephew. And won't get too serious here, but I have a nephew. I saw him when he was born. I saw him when he was a year old, and I never saw him again because my brother Richard, who died years ago, we were estranged, and that was his son. And Richard was a dick, and
no pun intended.
Thank you. Richard was a dick. Well, thank you very much. Anyway, so Richard was kind of a dick, and he estranged the family and all that. Well, I met my nephew again at my brother's funeral, and even my nephew hadn't seen him since he was a baby, and I met my nephew at my brother's funeral, and this was in 2004. Then I didn't see my nephew again for another 10 or 11 years, and that was after he had served in Afghanistan. So I met a 16-year-old in 2004. I met a 26-year-old 10 years later who was suffering from PTSD.
Is that right?
This is a kid who was just 16 years old, a football player, and the next time I met him, he saw his best buddy die in combat right in front of him. And it was weird to see this kid. And I'll never forget the first text after my brother's funeral. And I'm at the time I was close to 40 years old, 38 years old. And he wrote this older guy, and he said, like, "What up, Holmes?" Or "What up, dog?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" 16 years old. Then a decade later, I meet this kid who's now in his mid-20s, who came back from 2 tours in Afghanistan, who has a distant stare. When he talks about the shit he's been through, and a nervous laugh when he describes things. And I hope for those who suffer from PTSD, this will be cathartic. I did know, and another quick story. There was a guy, I'll never forget, Harold Delaney. When I was a kid, I worked at a truck stop in Neola, Iowa.
Wait a minute, is that the last part of that story? I mean, that's it? You just saying that he?
I wish that he would watch this.
Where is he now?
He's here in Kansas City.
Is he still? Is he having a tough go with PTSD?
Yeah. I think it might have cost him his marriage. I don't know.
You know what's interesting? Let's get some insight here. You know what? Every single person that works accounts with PTSD. You know what that's pinging? That's pinging the deepest nerves of the trauma he went through as a child.
Really?
That's what they told me. That's why some people can get through it and some people don't. Because the people that have still a hard time with the stuff in their childhood, and he sounds like because of what happened to your brother, he probably went through some stuff. And that's what I think is fascinating about this.
Yeah.
And one thing that they all say about pardon me for interrupting.
No.
But I find this really fascinating. With PTSD or any kind of thing, you don't go over it and you don't go around it. You have to go through it. You have to go through it to understand it because it's going to come back. The memory never goes away. Memories never go away. But if you can find a way to inject some humor or some lightness to it, remember we talked about turn down the volume. That's all you can hope for. The memories never go away.
Oh, dear God. I'm like I said, I've got, I always say, the stuff that I went through as a child, I would never change it. It sucks. It was awful. It was terrible. I was abused. I was bullied. I was all this shit through you have no idea. But I wouldn't change it because it made me who I am today. It made me who I am today.
So that's why the last time I did this podcast and we started talking about something, you got very emotional.
Yeah, it happens. I was also on my period. It was my breasts were tender. Did you notice that? And I was like, I just want to watch Sex and the City and drink Chardonnay.
I did.
And I want to take a bath.
I wondered why you wanted champagne and didn't want the Merlot. Now you need to open up with me.
Yes, I don't think I want to open up with you.
Yeah.
That sounds a little weird. I know what you're doing for my wife right now. I don't think I want to open up with you. I don't even know where to go with that, to be quite honest. We've got to do more about this. We've got to do more to promote this. I'm going to give you the URL to this marvelous video.
It's a video series.
Share that on social media and watch these. Dear God, I mean, I'm not kidding. This is good stuff. This is the kind of stuff, and I don't binge watch, okay? I don't like binge watching Netflix. There are some things that I really get into occasionally. Usually it's because my wife ropes me into watching HGTV and we watch, Fixer Upper. This is something that I would binge watch. Fascinated by every single episode, and I'm not screwing around. This is some really, really, really good stuff.
And it's funny.
And it's fun. You're laughing at the things you should. Normally, when you're watching a documentary, it's death and destruction and despair and sad music and all this. And you've got, don't, I'm not going to take away from it. There's lots of that. But it's also how people have dealt with the worst things imaginable. And maybe if you haven't been through things that are as bad, it can help you get through what you've gone through.
You just nailed it. You just nailed it, Rob. You just nailed it. That's why it's out there. You Just Have to Laugh has one purpose, and that is to heal the world one laugh at a time.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. I'll be sharing on social media. I'll be posting this URL on all of my Facebook pages. I do about 5 of them. Also my Twitter feed. Also my what the hell else do I feed? I've got a bunch of things that I have stuff on.
I'm tired of feeding your dog.
David, an honor to have you in here, and I will do everything I can to promote this because it is wonderful. Naster.com/web series. It is YJHTL.com. You just have to, remember, you just have to laugh. Google that. You just have to laugh.
David Naster. And you know what? And thank you for doing that.
So good.
But anybody watching, you go tell somebody in the television business or somebody, this needs to be a series nationally.
Yep.
So people, or get behind this series, more advertising to get it out there.
Yep.
Because the whole point of this is this helps people in this world that's so crazy right now with all these nasty things that are being said on television and that.
Yep.
You just watch this, and these are people that just want to help and just get through the day and do good stuff.
All right. Very good. God bless you. You absolutely kick ass.
And Tiny Tim. God bless Tiny Tim.
God bless Tiny Tim. I'm going to go and see if I can make my wife say, "Oh God," again.
What's the date today?
Maybe if the Chiefs win. What?
What's the date today?
It's the 2nd of October.
You know what you don't hear on October 31st? Guys going, "Hey, honey, where's my socks that have boo on them?"
All right, guys. See you later. Take care. All right.